I must remind you this evening that this meeting is being recorded and it will be, you can also view it later on the council's YouTube website. Right, first, before I start, I'd like to introduce Tonya Clark. She's the Principal Officer for Route to Zero Carbon, and she's going to give a short presentation on retrofitting homes.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Councillor. So I just want to take you through a quick slide presentation, if that's okay. So am I okay to just share my screen?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So I just want to let you know about something that we're working on in the council. So I'm going to explain what retrofit is because it's quite a technical term, but essentially it just means making our houses warmer and in some cases drier. So we're going back to older buildings that are typically quite drafty and not very well insulated, and we're adding insulation and maybe double glazing or even triple glazing in some places. And the other thing that retrofit can also mean is changing gas boilers to renewable energy heating systems. So that's quite a slow thing that's being looked at the moment, but it is one of the things that the council is looking at. So these are all the sorts of things that are included in retrofit. And so when we're looking at insulation, it can be loft insulation or under the floor or inside the walls or outside of the walls. And also looking at making sure that windows are all double glazed, some doors being double glazed, looking at draft proofing, and also this thing called mechanical ventilation. So that if your house is really has no drafts and is well insulated, you still need a flow through of air to stop damp and mould. And we're also looking at heat pumps and solar panels as well. There are lots of benefits to having retrofit done. You'll see the house in the middle with the green door there. That's had external wall insulation put on it, and it's got solar panels on its roof. And it doesn't look much different to the houses next to it, but it'd be much easier to keep warm, and the costs to heat it will be a lot less. The other thing that's really good is it reduces the amount of carbon emissions, either because you're using less gas or you've changed from gas to electric. There is a lot of legislation around retrofit now because there have been previous schemes that didn't go very well. And so there's a whole lot of standards called PAS 2035, and they make sure that the retrofit is done properly and that there's a designer and a coordinator who make sure the work gets done well. Okay, so of course the big money question, how much is it going to cost? It is quite expensive to do retrofit on a home. An external wall insulation can cost £30,000 and more than that, depending on the size of the house. Solar panels on the roof, just like this terraced house here, can be about £10,000, depending on how many panels you have. And double glazing, again, it depends on your number of windows and the sizes, but about 7,000. And if you did choose to have an air source heat pump, that can be, I'm afraid, upwards of £10,000. So that is a lot of money. Now, there is funding for these kinds of work. If you own your own home or you rent your own home, you rent a home and you're on a low income, there's a scheme from the government called ECO. And this is the energy company's obligation, and the energy companies have to, free of charge, do some retrofit measures. But it might be that they would only do one or two of those things because obviously it's very expensive to do them all on each house. There's also a government scheme called the Boiler Upgrade Scheme, where you can get up to £5,000 towards an air source heat pump. The City Council, now we've applied for some money, we don't know whether we've been successful yet, from the Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund. And if we are successful, we'll be able to retrofit about 2,000 of our council houses. So we've got our fingers crossed for that. And there's all sorts of new things that are coming online. There's something called green mortgages, which the banks are offering, where they'll give you a little bit more money because you're going to do some retrofit works on your home. So this is an area where there'll be a lot of things coming down the line soon. We're also looking at if people are interested in having an aggregation scheme for solar panels for people who own their own homes, so that they would all get together and buy a contract to have solar panels fitted together, which should reduce the price. So if anybody wants any expert help, I've just given 4 possibilities here. There are lots of experts in the field, but locally we've got Agility Eco, Act on Energy, FIRB Now, and Energy Confidence. And you'll be able to see there are other people when you Google it, but it's certainly worth getting some expert advice that's specific to your home if it's something you want to do. And we do have some further information on the City Council website under climate change. So that is a whistle-stop tour of retrofit. And I'm happy to take any questions, Councillor, if there are any.
Thank you very much. Right. You've got a question. I can't see who it is at the moment. Has anybody got any questions at all? Can I ask one? What counts as a low income?
Yeah, so it's about £31,000 for the household. Although when we're talking to the government about the criteria, sometimes we can do it by the kind of the postcode area. So that if it's a postcode with a high level of deprivation, they'll do anybody in the road. But when the schemes are coming out, which shouldn't be too long now, we're going to advertise them widely, and obviously we'll let Councillor Locke know so that if anybody's interested, they can be part of it.
Does this apply to private landlords as well, or because we've got a lot of council houses, not as many as we used to, but you know we've got a lot of very old council housing that would benefit from having some insulation.
Well, we're really hoping that we get this funding from the government, and hopefully when we get that, yes, it will be council houses. We've only been able to do 2,000. The City Council has about 60,000 council houses, but we need to make a start. So we've hopefully got money for 2,000.
Because you've done because it'd be great if you could have a few in each area really across the boards, because I think it would be good then to see how they go. I don't know whether other people think the same. This isn't my meeting, I'm not doing the talking for everyone, but I just feel it does need to be said, and helping people who are in privately rented or our council properties too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm contactable at the council. If anybody wants to get in touch with me afterwards, that's absolutely fine.
Thank you very much. Anyone got anything to ask or anything? No. Okay, Tanya, thank you very much indeed. And it's nice to see you again. Well, our next item on the agenda is station update. Now, Hayley Bradbury was supposed to be coming, but last week there was a drop-in at Stirchley Baths about, updating about Pineapple Road Station, and she said, I don't really see the point in coming to this. So mainly the update, they are waiting for Birmingham City Council approval to demolish the former bathroom shop. They're hoping to open the station around the end of this year, early 2024. There were a number of stalls around the room in the baths about how people would like the station to look, or opening up more lines similar to that. Also ideas for the station, increasing the amount per hour. Also, the main thing, and I'll bring Phil in on this, will be the parking. That is still a worry for many people around the, that live around the new station. And I know they're going to survey, keep it under watch when it does open, but it is a serious concern, and I hope it does. Anne said, how long will it take for the council to give permission for the demolition? I think it's any time now. I can email Hayley and I'll ask her that. They've been waiting. Do you know, Phil?
I don't, Chair, unfortunately, because it's probably a building control stroke planning matter. Like you, I can undertake to go away and find out.
I can ask Andrew Fulford. See, if you like, I can ask Andrew, or we'll put it up both as. Right, Anne's typing. Okay, Phil, I'll bring you in now, and you can tell us all about transport and connectivity.
Okay, and specifically around the parking.
Yeah,
concerns.
and also the lots of issues that we have got round here. There's a lot of stuff going on. Utility companies, temporary lights. I mean, Stirchley was nearly at a standstill Friday. It was absolutely gridlocked. I know some of the big utility companies were doing emergency repairs, but it's frustrating for people.
Yeah, it is. Perhaps just to, Chair, touch on that one. So I think there was, I don't know if you got to go yesterday, but there was a briefing from Highways just around the permit scheme. So, and this links into our PFI arrangements. We are regrettably one of the last authorities in the country to bring in permitting. We're currently on a system called noticing, and that will enable the council, obviously Highways, to actually exert a little more control on those utility companies. And I think we're all aware, particularly, and I've had this in Kingsheath as well, Severn Trent are a particular issue. So we're trying to work with them at the moment. What they tend to do is kind of turn up actually with very little notice or information. Install traffic lights, they are supposed to come through us, unless it is an emergency. So, clearly if it's an emergency, residents, businesses, etc., need their water putting on, very quickly, don't they? But even so, it doesn't give us any time to actually check those traffic management arrangements and make sure they're appropriate to try and minimise the disruption. But that scheme, as I understand it, like I said, I'm not sure if you did get to the briefing ahead of full council yesterday, but that should be in place and operational by the end of this financial year, so hopefully by the end of March. So we will have more control than we've got at the moment over some of those utilities companies, and I'm well aware of the the disruption and inconvenience it causes for residents.
Yeah. Re the station. Does anybody got any questions to ask Phil? It's just no. Re the station. That's a serious concern for a lot of people that live on surrounding roads to Cartland, Pineapple, Newlands, Lewis, and obviously there's like a side road to, and we call it the slip road. It's past Cartland Road. Parking there. There will be limited parking, 2-hour parking, maximum drop off and pick up. And with the best will in the world, they've designed it. They're going to expect people to walk and cycle and get the bus. Not everyone will. We know that, and it is going to cause problems for people living around and about, and frustration. A number of people are asking for resident-only park permits. I don't know. Will we, not the council, but the city council, be involved in monitoring this regularly?
Yeah, so I think you've been spoken presented to by officers in the past too, and you mentioned about monitoring. What we'll need to do, to monitor anything effectively, we need to have a baseline position. So what I'd like to do, Chair, probably working with you, linked in with the residents, I can't cover, absolutely everywhere in the whole area, but to go and do that survey work on some of those key roads, which you're comfortable with and residents are comfortable with. So we've got that baseline position, because I suppose at the moment, and just for people on the call, I fully, understand that concern. So, we're not being dismissive around this, but we need that baseline position to see what those differences are going to be. Because at the moment, we're not entirely sure. We're all kind of thinking about where those issues could occur. But if, at a subsequent stage, we do need to put a residents' parking scheme in, obviously we need to know where those issues are. Are those, purely people can't park? Are people parking on the pavements? Are they create a safety issue, just as a couple of examples? And then we need to apply the right measures to, try and address those concerns and those problems that, may be experienced. So I think we start off with that baseline position. So we've got that data, so we can do that comparison. And, I'll give you my assurance, if these issues are starting to emerge, then, we will have to put some investment into this area to see how we can, do our best to kind of resolve some of those issues. Perhaps to touch on residents' parking schemes, just so people are aware, if it does come back, we generally do 2 phases of consultation. So we'd go away using the data, using, input from yourself and others, Chair, come up with proposals. We generally put that out to the community to give us their feedback about, is this effective? Is there any kind of other ideas, etc. Take that back in, and if we get to this point, it then goes to a statutory process where we advertise the traffic regulation orders. Like I said, that is a statutory process where people can then, either agree or object on a statutory basis. And then in that instance, we can either change the scheme, or if we're unable to resolve objections, then that comes back to me in consultation with the cabinet member to decide whether we proceed, notwithstanding. I think perhaps just a couple of other points. Everywhere is different, but in general terms, if you put one of these schemes in, there is a charge for permits. So people should be aware of that. And if we've got houses where, just for argument's sake, you may have 4 cars in the household, the general rule, this is a general rule, you don't generally get more than 2 permits per household. So that the scheme may create its own issues. So I just want people to be aware of, you might argue some of the consequences that come with a controlled parking scheme, just for people to bear in mind.
And I was put in the chat, work with the permits. Sometimes work seems to go on a long time and it takes ages to finish. She hopes that when we control the licences for third parties, they will be given shorter time scales where possible.
Yeah, so this is going back to the permits, I think, isn't it? So the added benefit of the permit scheme is the council then has the ability to effectively fine. There's a financial penalty for those utilities or other people working on the highway. So if they say they're going to be there, for instance, 5 days, and then they're there for 10, I know this doesn't help the the inconvenience in the meantime, but there will be a fine that they have to pay on a daily basis. So hopefully that will give these private sector companies a bit of a prompt, shall I say, to actually hurry up and get on with it and finish. So
what annoys some people as well is, sometimes I suppose if the work's going on and then by 3 o'clock they go home and there's no one there, with the days getting longer, they seem to, they could stay and finish the work and then get it done a little bit quicker as well.
Yeah, I agree. There's another question, Chair, just around the potential of train companies making money from the new rail line, and can they contribute towards it? I think that would be a conversation we'll have to pick up. I would say that generally doesn't happen, if I'm honest with you, that they contribute, but we can certainly take that one away to have a look at. The promoter of the scheme ultimately is the combined authority, as you know. And I can see Anne is typing away. Is there any other points?
TDC, we'll see. Is it some local walking routes to?
Yeah, that's kind of similar to, I know it's a little while ago, but we used to do something called Safer Routes to Stations, which kind of picked up exactly what Anne's saying. So I think, we'd be more than happy to have those walks and see if there are any issues for local residents on key routes. That we could possibly put some improvements in there. Obviously, we'd have to see what those improvements were, and money always affordability has to come into it. But I think in principle, it's a really good idea.
I did have, and having there is a small cycle lane, but having that, encouraging that, and also I had a drop in October at Reba Station, and Highways came, and Sajid was there, Sajid Khan, because we've got a Banana Moon, the nursery, and there's up to 100 children go there, they're from birth to 4, and there's obviously parents dropping off and picking up their children twice a day since school, but somewhat that's gonna, well, hopefully it's gonna be in my next year thing to put a crossing there so it's safer there, because it does need one. Because people, they're always sometimes on the junction of Pineapple Road and Carlton Road, there's a lot of accidents there or near misses.
Yeah, I think just probably why you've got me here, just a couple of things. So you might be aware, we made a commitment as part of the clean air zone to get some of those, what we call the net surplus. So monies that are remaining once we've taken all the operating costs. So it's £20,000 over at least 2 years to each ward councillor. And I think the governance will be, you have to kind of get a minute chair from this forum to agree on how you're going to use those monies. So over the next 2 years, you'll get an extra £40,000 on top of your ward's minor measures. And then if they are safety schemes, and we have a criteria about how those are determined, but we're just about, and we're kicking this off at the council's scrutiny committee in April, we're going to do a refresh of our road safety strategy. So, we are looking at ways. I'm not entirely sure yet, if I'm honest with you, how we're going to do this, but we get a lot of issues of local concern, which don't necessarily have the number of accidents needed to hit our criteria, because we have to prioritise, because, we haven't, frankly speaking, we don't have enough money to address every single location across the city. Pretty much every other local authority does it in the same way. But, if we can find a way that we can address concerns like near misses, and sometimes those are hard to capture because for us, we have the data on where accidents do happen, which are recorded by the police. But, we need that local intelligence, if there are, perceived issues. But as you imagine, me sat either at home or in an office, I've got no easy way of knowing that. So we need that local intelligence.
Sometimes, people will contact me and say there's been an accident, Carlton Road, Dogville Lane or wherever, and I will let Sajid know, so he will know 2 or 3 months before the police release the figures, because sometimes they can be pretty bad. So I'll just do it because it's good to circulate. Well, it's not good there's been an accident, but it keeps our records up. So if there is something, and I think what I would possibly do with anything to do with budget like that, I would like to discuss it with the neighbourhood forum, involving the people that attend the neighbourhood forum, and the chair and vice chair, and and the residents, and well, the businesses, well, any businesses that do attend, so that we could think of ways, sensible ways of spending, you know, that sort of money.
Yeah, you know, there will be criteria around it. So, you know, the
Yeah.
fundamental focus is around, you know, the money's been generated in effect from the clean air zone. So this is improving, you know, the environment, clean air, but also in the interest of, you know, of active travel, walking, cycling, and also the safety aspects of that. So that business case is going through the system at the moment. So those resources should be available to you and all other 100 ward councillors from the start of the next financial year. So hopefully, you know, it's more money than you're getting at the moment. I know you always want more, but it's probably a good start.
I always do my projects with Saturday on it in April, so it's not minor, but minor ones. Any questions at all? I know Sandra's there, so I didn't know whether Sandra wanted to ask any questions from the she's vice chair of the neighbourhood forum. I don't know whether you like that idea of, you know, using the forum as a, you know, thinking part to, you know, when it comes how to have a decision on how it could be spent over a period of time.
Chair, and typing again. Have you just out of curiosity, have you got a ward plan in Stirchley?
Yes,
you have.
We are. We're working on it. It will shortly be released. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know the leader's keen that wards have ward plans, and then going back to this fund, what is this won't be in my report, but I think this is more on a political level. You know, he's looking for a minute to come out of the ward forum, which says we've discussed how we're going to use this money, and you know, yourself and residents in the community are kind of happy to proceed as you propose.
Well, I always say Stirchley isn't me. I know I live here, but Stirchley isn't me. It's the people who live here. And Sandra's just typed up. We're always happy to use the forum for consultation input. So I think that is a good way. And there are, you know, there's a lot of people that do attend, and people also can send in ideas via email to myself, and you know, bring it along and put it into the pot. You know. Anna's typing. Anna, sorry. No, not at the moment. If you wanted to adopt it, I'm sure you know, it's a good idea.
I'm sure Chair Transport for West Midlands would more than welcome that.
Yeah. Let's type again. If you can give me your email address, I'll pass your details on. You know, if you wanted to send it to me privately. How does it start? I know. I think there's something on I don't know whether you can Google it, and you can look on there to see how you adopt a station, and volunteers, and that can you know, maintain it or plant flowers and things like that around it. I mean, there may be some funding from Andy Street. Oh, Laura. Thank you, Laura. She's my PA.
Yeah, I was just doing a quick Google, Chair, while we were talking. So there is a page on certainly West Midlands Railways website which talks about adopting a station. So scheme enables individuals or groups to adopt their local railway station and contribute to its use and welfare. So that's at westmidlandsrailway.co.uk if anyone's interested.
You're forgiven, Laura. Right, has anybody got any questions at all? I'm the talkative one tonight, aren't I? Right. Thank you, Phil.
No, you're welcome, Chair.
And I will say, we will get back, and don't forget to arrange a meeting. And when we know more about the station, and you know, later on in the year, of having a look round and showing you the, you know, how it is. All
No,
right.
that's fine, and you know, always happy to come back to
Yeah.
these meetings.
We'll
And
be
probably
doing it face to face.
yeah, and it'll probably be useful for colleagues from excuse me, colleagues with TFWM also to be here to give us an update.
Yeah.
So I'll just follow that up
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Okay then.
Well,
All the
okey-dokes.
best.
Okay, thank you all. Bye now.
Okay.
Bye.
All right then. Right. The next item on the agenda is Rachel with SIL, community infrastructure levy and crowdfunding. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello everybody. I've met some of you. I don't know if I've met all of you. So I'm Rachel. I'm the Community Support and Development Officer, and I have geographical responsibility for Stirchley, including some other wards. So I wanted to talk to you about the availability of SIL funding. SIL is Community Infrastructure Levy. Now, not every ward has got SIL funding, but Stirchley is one of the wards that does have it. We've already had one round, and it splits into two separate methods of sort of paying out. So one is a small grants round, and one is the crowdfunding round. So I've looked into what is available and what's left in your small grants pot, and the answer is not very much at all, because there was quite a few applications from Stirchley in the first round, and when I say not very much, I mean less than £500, Councillor Locke. So what I want to focus on today is the money that is left in the crowdfunding pot, which is £92,324. So a significant amount of money is left in the crowdfunding pot. So the crowdfunding is a new sort of method that that Birmingham City Council are looking at to engage community groups and get local communities to engage. So rather than just handing out money, what we are asking is that a community group get together with their idea, they develop a pitch for whatever it might be, you know, sort of new vegetable garden or activities, or for instance, in Morpeth, which is one that is just going on at the moment, which is over in Harborne, they've asked for £10,000 to convert part of an old building, so it's you know, sort of revamping their toilet so it's disability access. So all sorts of different projects can be pitched for. And then what you would do is you would go about in exactly the same way as all these other crowdfunding projects that you might see, asking the community to you know, contribute to the crowdfunder. So where the council comes into it is we would be able to match your whatever is raised. So say you are bidding, for example, if I use the Morpeth example, so they're looking to raise £10,000. So we would be able to contribute 50%, at least 50%. So first of all, you start crowdfunding, and then we come in and we match at 50%. So as you can see, if we've got 92,000, and just to say that the top level that you can actually ask for is up to £10,000 from the council. So the total amount of your project will be £20,000, but that would be quite an ambitious one. But the last round, round one, there was only one pitch that went forward for Stirchley, and that was the Fruit and Nut Village. And I believe that Rob has actually achieved his goal now. And that was quite a modest one, but you know, Fruit and Nut Village do a lot of really good work. So I'll take questions in just a second, but what we're looking at for round two is either late next week or late this week or early next week. We're going to actually have the launch, which we're going to sort of let people know more about it. And then what Carla is also keen to do in this round, Carla is a colleague who works a lot on funding, is she wants to actually do more local sort of ward-based information sessions. So if there's interest in that, then we can come over to somewhere like Stirchley Baths and spend a bit more time with interested parties. So so basically, I think the deadline for community groups to develop their pitch and submit their pitch is going to be the end of April. So that's the timeline that we're looking at. So we're looking at people developing the pitches, launching it sort of sometime in February, developing pitches in March, with the deadline for pitches to be ready by April. So have I explained it okay, Councillor Locke? Is there anything else that anybody wants to ask me? You're on mute.
Any questions, anyone?
Hi, yeah, I've got a question. Thanks, Rachel, for explaining that. That's really helpful. What is the time frame for projects that you're looking at?
Well, I mean, different. I mean, it's actually sort of changed. So sort of it can be sort of dictated by the community groups themselves. So some have had quite short time frames, but some have had longer time frames.
Okay.
So if you, and what you would do, it's Space Hive, who are the experts who help you develop your pitch, and they would be guiding the group all the way through. And they've got a lot of experience in this, and they've run crowdfunding across the country. So they would be able to sort of say, well, this is the type of project that you're looking at. Based on this looks very similar to this. So we would advise a time frame of, you know, sort of 30 days or 60 days. But I think what you don't want within crowdfunding is to let things drag on too much, because I think then you like lose impetus, you know, and but I think the thought is that it's an interesting way and quite an innovative way to get a broader amount of people involved. Maybe people who wouldn't engage with a project. You know, they could either just contribute, or, you know, they could contribute and then want to come to, you know, sort of you know, a volunteer help day, whatever it is that you're working on. So it's not fixed.
Okay, and is this something that kind of repeats each year, or is this just a thing for 2023, or is it a thing that you're planning to continue to do?
I think that it's something that we are continuing to do. The last round that we did, that was a pilot, that was the first one that we've done. But Councillor, I think that I'm right in saying that it is something that Birmingham is committed to continuing to do.
Yeah.
Great. And like, is the funding for, so talking about kind of funding for projects, is the idea of this that it's for a project in its entirety, or could it be for a part of a project?
It could be either for a project in its entirety, or it could be for a part of the project.
Okay.
So again, I use the example of Morpool. So they have a derelict builder's yard that they are sort of gradually in the process of transforming the outside into a allotments, accessible allotments. And so they don't have enough money to restore the entire building, the builder's yard, but they appreciate that what they can do is they can use this money to restore just the toilet part. So it's just an element of a larger project which will sort of hopefully go forward. Okay. You know,
I've got one more. I keep thinking of questions, sorry.
That's okay.
If anybody else wants to butt in, please feel free. Is the idea that you kind of you come to you have your pitch and you present the project to whoever it's presented to, and then you go and raise the money, or could you have raised some of the money beforehand and then think, oh wait a minute, I don't think we're going to make this. Oh, actually, we can do this. Is that a possibility?
I mean, I think that. Sorry, while I've been talking to you, I've been Googling Space Hive so I can sort of show you some examples.
Yeah.
What you need to do is you need to be realistic about, you know, what you, so you would come with an idea. It wouldn't be a fully formed idea. So working closely with Space Hive, they would be able to sort of let you know how much would be appropriate for you to ask for, because it's not in your interest or Space Hive's best interest for you not to succeed. So you know, it's a general you know, it's a partnership as you sort of work into it. So you don't have to come with something perfect. You basically it develops as you go along. Let me just let me share my screen. Am I able to share my screen on here? Oh yeah.
Laura's beating you to it.
Hold on. Sorry. Let's see, where are we? So you can use it for revenue projects. So I would say that the sing-along would be, you know, sort of a one-off project, but there's also capital projects that you can look at. So it's really, really flexible in terms of the types of things that you can look at funding.
Okay.
Maybe an idea to send that if anybody's interested in it.
Yeah, I'll put that link in the
yeah, in the chat.
In the chat. Yeah, so I mean, you can see that within Stirchley, if there's over £90,000 left that can be dedicated to projects in Stirchley, it's, you know, really worthwhile thinking about the possible opportunities that there are.
Great. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Okay.
Any more questions of anyone? Silence. Well, thank you, Rachel. And when it's, you know, it's interesting that is, and can send further information out so that when it does get launched, so that I can send it out to, you know, the neighbourhood forum. Also, you know, we've got other community groups as well, and you know, there are churches and other things in the area too, so who may be keen on doing things as well, so, or work all, you know, together.
Yeah, and I will ask Kay to send out when the launch details are firmed up. If you could send it out to your distribution list, Kay, that would be great.
Yeah, not a problem at all.
And then I'll probably be bothering Sandra as well, asking her to sort of send it out to the forum contacts. Thank you.
All right then, thank you very much, Rachel.
Right then, good night.
Okay, night. Right, now ward plan update, next item. Ward plan is almost ready. It's been typed up. There are things we've got to, some of the stuff from the previous one, some of the commitments and things from that will stay the same have moved over into because certain things haven't changed, the MP, how the ward looks and everything, and then the boundaries and some of the ideas and some of the suggestions that have come in have been put in, and it's been typed up, and it will, once it's done, it will be sent out for people to have a look at, add, and send it for any suggestions in as well. Have you got any questions?
Can I just add, Councillor Locke, it's Kay. I was just going to say that one of the things that you put into your ward plan was an adopt the station group. So that's that was asked about while Phil was doing his presentation. So that actually is in the ward plan.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Kay, for that. Okay, I'll go on to any other business. I don't know whether others have heard today. Andrew Cohen, how it's going to be sold. Came out officially yesterday, but I was speaking to the manager, Sharon. Various things, you know, such as there's less. There's more non-Jewish people in the home now than there were, not just because of that, and the Jewish population in Birmingham is declining. It will still remain a home. They will sell it as it is with the same sort of ethos, but they'll be doing a lot more in the community. But it is very sad, because I mean, I felt they were part of the community as well, because they used to visit very often, and my husband was there for respite at one time, and it was like going to your own home, really. It was really nice. So I hope the staff, they will possibly, whoever buys it, it will possibly, they'll go under 2p. You know, transfer of undertakings, so their current terms and conditions will remain the same for a few months, but they could change then. They have had businesses, similar businesses, come and look at it, and we'll see in the future who will purchase it. So it's a sad day, really. Also, there's been a lot going on. I've taken on board about those new signs, the flashing signs, as I call them, up on the Persia Road, just past Wicks and just by Breeden, Lifford Lane. I've reported it to Environmental Health and Planning Enforcement, and they've gone out and they're trying to get hold of some of the residents who complained, and also you know, looking at the planning to see, because the light is terribly bright, and you know, people can I don't know how people can sleep at night, so you know, they ought to have a thought to that. Behind on Ford House Lane, behind the former fireworks shop, the hoardings and everything have come down. They've put like a tin container there, and they've tarmacked it, and there's usually 1 or 2 cars there. No plans have come out yet, but we're keeping an eye on it. I think that's about all there. I've had a meeting last week about the 10K and the marathon, and it will not be coming through Stirchley this year. I think it's Selly Oak Road. I'm bringing the plans with me to the forum on Monday, so people can see. But they're going to do a slightly different route. But it won't be to say that it won't be next year. It's back to square one. It's going to be held on the 7th of May, the day after the coronation. I don't know whether any of the community groups or anyone's got any plans for the coronation, whether there's anything going on. I know the Stirchley Circle have got something in the pipeline, but I don't know whether any other groups have got anything, or bring a picnic to the park or something like that, which would be nice, but we'll have to wait and see for ideas. Anybody want to ask me any questions? No, silence. Well, that's the end. The next meeting is on the 25th of April at 7 p.m. at Stirchley Community Church, and it'll be in person. Councillor Sharon Thompson is going to be is invited to that to discuss her portfolio, which includes supported exempt accommodation, HMOs and housing. So that should be very interesting, and there'll probably be 1 or 2 others on the and I'll keep the ward plan up, you know, going, and if anybody once it's comes out and shared, you know, send your ideas in. Well, thank you all very much for attending, and oh, and there's one other thing I've got to say. I forgot this. I've got a jobs fair coming up on the 29th of March at Stirchley Baths from 10 till 1. I want to include some of the independent businesses, as well as some the construction company by Dad's Lane, also National Express and Diamond and Stagecoach coming, and hopefully, you know, it will go well. Also, there have been issues with the 76 bus because it's been diverted up Carlton Road. Some of the bus stops haven't had the sign, you know, the closed sign put on. There's been no signs at the bus stop to say the buses 76 is running here. It went up Carlton Road and then turned into Pineapple Road. And what happened, I think 1 or 2 buses had their windows smashed because there were trees overhanging, and what they've changed the route now to go straight up to Carlton Road and along Vicarage Road. But Councillor McCarthy and Councillor Jones from Bournemouth and Selly Park and myself are meeting National Express and Transport for West Midlands on Friday to walk the route. If anybody wants to come, they can. Not the whole route, but just meeting at Selly Park and then up Carlton Road, just to show what it's like and what needs to be done. And I've also been in touch with the tree officer, and he's mapped it up, and I've asked that, you know, the trees that were damaged, that the branches can loped off and something like that, and hopefully the bosses can go down Pineapple again, but we'll see after Friday. Okay. Right, I'll say good evening to you all and stay safe and well, and I'll see those that are coming to the forum on Monday, and thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay, Stu, thanks.